when companies can understand that going in, like I'm hiring an agency, this is a long-term game. Do I feel the energy, right? Because they're looking for that too, right? Do I feel
Yeah.
that energy? And when you come and saying, listen, I your industry particularly, Mr. X, like if I get that industry, I'm telling them what how I would help remedy, right? But like how what I know about their industry, because if I believe in it, it's just gonna the energy within me, it's just gonna come out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Heyman Marrero from Urbender, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of I Have Something to Say. I have my friend, Sandra Noemi Torres, in the house, and she's the founder and CEO of Plan Your Company. And how perfect is that, Sandra? From marketer to marketer, business development strategist to business development strategist, you were like the perfect person to invite to talk about this topic that we kind of need to have this conversation, especially now that we're very involved in uh, uh, developing, right, entrepreneurs and specifically Latina business owners. And so welcome. I know that you have all of these years of experience, right, in business, in marketing, in sales, in startups, in generating new revenues for others and for yourself. And so, yeah, we need to have this conversation. And the general theme is where to invest your time, energy, and money as a Latina business owner. So, gracias for saying yes to joining me today, because we're starting with time, right? Time, we can't waste any time. So, talk to me. Talk to me. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sammy, and thank you so much for having me and just everything that you do for the community, for putting voices and making sure that we do have something to say and that gets amplified. So thank you for that so much. Um, so yes, that is a long question, right? How do we spend our time, energy and everything? But beginning with time, we think about what are we doing with our time, right? Goals. If we have to, number one, start with laying out a foundation of what is it that we're going to be spending our time doing, or what we want to spend our time doing. What are the goals that we want to achieve in the first place, right? And that's the hardest part. Most people can't really identify the goals they really want. It's so hard. We want everything. Life is so broad, right? It's like I want a little bit of everything. I don't want to pick one thing, right? But we can do that. We can do that. We just have to be intentional with, man, okay, I want this and I want a little bit of that and I want to create this in my life and I want this in my life. So let me put that down on paper. And that's goals are the very first foundation to really deciding, okay, how do I spend my time? If these are the goals that I want to achieve, now what do I do with my time because my time needs to be allocated, used going in that direction, right? Not just observing life, right? So we have to be
Yeah.
intentional. So we create habits, right? We think about, well, what is it that we're doing right now? What do we do every day without thinking about it? Or maybe you just because it's a routine so much in your life that it's like that's what you're doing. But we need to observe, okay, what are my habits? What do I spend? What's my routine when I wake up in the morning? How am I spending my time? Do I have me time to think and spend, my me time? A lot of people is the coffee, right? Por la mañana you have your time with your coffee. You don't want anybody around. It's just there's just a sense of peace, right? That's like a lot of people find that to be their wholesome time. I love that time because it allows you to think about, okay, how am I going to plan my day? But thinking about what are the habits, right? Starting there, like what are the habits that we're doing every single day that could be either driving us away from the actual goals that we want to achieve. So we have good habits and we have bad habits, right? We know which ones are the bad habits, right? Or we at least can say, you know what, I could probably just be doing better in that area. Let me just start tweaking stuff. And that's step
Yeah.
one, really
Yeah,
identify what
totally.
you're doing.
Yeah, and for time, I mean, when you have a business and you have your as a Latina businesswoman, you're trying to um, please everybody, right? So it's like the family, it's the chores that you need to that for the most part fall upon you. It's like I always say, Mista, if I don't cook, like before I go on a business trip, I cook for the week because I'm like, these people will starve if not I'm not around, right? And so and that's a habit that I've created though, right? So to your point, is like just analyzing in the like 24 hours that we have, because it's a finite amount of time. How do we invest our time in trying to accomplish the goals that we're setting for ourselves in our businesses and in our lives too, so that way we find that balance. And so I just feel like it takes time to get into those habits. One thing that I've been doing this year is blocking chunks of time in my calendar. So Mondays and Fridays for me tend to be pretty flexible. So I can take on an unexpected meeting, right? So I can invest in maybe reading some material so I could be, in the know of latest trends. Like, is there anything that you feel it's important for us to carve out time? I know you work out, right? I don't, but I'm starting. I started this week. So I'm
Yay.
carving out time. Yeah, I know.
That is
I'm
that's
trying. And so what are the things that you feel in your experience as a Latina entrepreneur and also as a co-founder, right, of United Latinas, right? With that we have a lot of members that are entrepreneurs. What do you feel are those critical things that you would recommend that we definitely carve out time, aside from family and friends and all of that, right? But from a
yeah.
business standpoint.
Yeah, yeah. I probably I'm very much an adamant of listen to yourself, right? Listen to your heart, listen to your mindset, and be in tune to when you know you're maybe you could be doing better, or when you need to give yourself some love, right? There's a difference, because I do believe that I work a lot.
I
And I
know.
love working, and I think that that's the beauty. I love what I do, right? So, and I think when we love what we do, we don't mind being at 11 o'clock at night working on a project on a client, So I think that that's the beautiful part of being being able to be an entrepreneur, right? Because I know not everybody can be an entrepreneur. So I think that that's the beautiful part, is being able to work on projects, not just on Monday through Friday. And like you said, me too. I know I take certain days. Fridays is my day that I don't book any meetings, but those are all for this Friday. I have several meetings, but I had the space for it because Fridays is my day to take care of the things. So I'm very intentional with that. I'm very intentional with not overburdening my time with a bunch of too much of heavy conversations. Right? It depends on what it is. I'm a Monday is I need to know everything about all the businesses that I'm in working on, right? Or and all the things that I'm a part of. I need to have a meeting on Monday. So Mondays I allocate that. And that's usually after the afternoon, because I'm very choosy about self-care. I won't take a meeting before 12. Right? I'm just on a Monday. I won't, because I'm from coming from a Sunday night. I could be finishing up a project, and that's my time to either finish up what I need or wake up with intentional, like, how am I approaching this week? I got these meetings for the rest of all of the rest of Monday, because my meetings don't end until sometimes 7, 8 o'clock at night. So when we think about how we allocate our time, is first listen to self, know, all right, when do I need to go hard, right? And when I need to be soft on myself, like, okay, Monday mornings I don't take heavy meetings where it needs a lot of brain power, right? I need my
Yeah.
coffee, I need to like relax, and I need to just find me. I need to always reconnect with me as priority number one, so that I can show up my best self for my clients and the projects that I'm a part of. So for sure that, and I love that you mentioned time blocking, because I've been doing that a lot lately, and that is I found to be so powerful. So where like I would typically just write things down on my calendars, a lot of things won't always get checked off that day, right? It just life gets in the way, family things. Um, and so not everything. But I've found time blocking. So being intentional again with, okay, what is it that I'm looking to achieve, right? If this is what I want to achieve over the next year, let me break that down into quarters. What could I achieve individually in each quarter that are big things? And okay, so over the next 3 months, if I have to connect with this person or do this thing or achieve this thing, now how do I break those 3 months into 1 month? What do I need to accomplish in this 1 month to help me reach that third quarter goal so that I'm reaching all my quarter goals to reach that annual goal? And then you keep breaking that down into the week. Okay, so crap, I need to have done this project. What one phone call do I need to make today? That's going to lead me one moment, one step closer to that, or 10 phone calls, right? It just depends on what you're looking to achieve. But just, I think when we think about how do we allocate our time, you need to figure out what your time is going to be used for in order for you to build the life that you want. And that is understanding the big goal and then chopping that down to what do I need to do right now that's going to move the needle a little bit forward. It doesn't have to move it a mile, just a little bit forward. One conversation, one message, one email. What is it that I need to do to move me closer? And whether that takes 5 minutes or an hour sometimes, right? Writing a
Right.
email. So, yeah,
So
and I,
all of those things you're describing are definitely part of like business planning and strategy, right? And you're a guru at that, right? I feel like I am too. So it sounds to me like invest your time in really planning out your life, planning out your business, because then it'll be like an easier, right? Way to navigate, right? The unexpected too, because you can't control life, right?
yeah,
And so the more you invest in planning your goals, your milestones, your tactics, your strategy, the reason, figuring out, how you're gonna get there,
yeah,
in a sequence or in a logical way, well, then that will be, and what resources you need, right? So just like
yeah,
really analyzing what it
yeah.
is, that you need to get from point A to point Z, because I'm not even going to say B, is a good investment of time. I agree
And
with
it's not
that
always
thought.
logical, right? Sometimes, like you say, like even when life gets in the way, like you think about, oh crap, I'm derailed, and or I got sick for the past week, or I haven't been able to work out the past 4 months because I've been working on stuff. But did you work out once right before? Like just we have to count those little wins, the little moments, because that's better than zero effort in. So
Yes. And
yeah,
dedicating time and carving out time for family, that has to be packed
yes,
in. You know that I have a friend that plans out her two vacations every year too, right?
yeah,
Way ahead of time. So by January, February, she already knows, oh, we're going this, in the summer here and in the fall there, right? And so then it's planned out. And so then just planning. I think planning is a really important thing, to
yeah,
invest your time in, so you can maximize your time, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and feel less stress, because the stress is always going to be there, no?
Yeah, yeah. And I guess I'm cheating a little. My son is he'll be 27 in 2 weeks. So I don't have
Every
any
time
little ones.
every time you say that, I can't believe it, because you look like you're 19. Pero anyway,
Yeah,
that's a
because
whole other conversation.
that is the Latina in me. I can't help it. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. No, okay.
That's
No.
great. And so, yeah, and so on the subject of time though too, how do we manage, right? Clients, and clients, right? That want to have recurring meetings that can be easily, like issues or things that can be, I don't have any of those anymore, actually, because I think I've figured it out, right? Or they trust, that we're doing the work and stuff like that. So that's great. But how do you manage, you know, time with clients, right? That interfacing and that communication, so that way, you can again optimize the limited amount of hours that you're dedicating to building your business.
Yeah. I set expectations. Like, I'll have a client that, like, sometimes she'll want to, for example, like, the time she it was just something with the time, and I'm like, so I booked a meeting 2 weeks out, right, about 2 weeks out, and I think it was because that's what I told her, right? Like, and I think that like when you set expectations with your client, like, listen, I'm going to meet with you Friday. It's going to be a phone call. It's going to be 30-minute phone call. This is what we're going to briefly go over, and then we'll have our important phone call in 2 weeks, right? Um, so really setting expectations. I will not, and I cannot perform and be my best creative self under that kind of pressure. So like if I have someone that is consistently, I ponder like, is this someone I want to keep as a client?
Mm.
We have to
Mhm.
we have to make those decisions because if somebody doesn't understand the value of my work, and it is certainly not in phone calls and interactions, it's in building on the back end. Um, and most do, right? Because most are more much, they're just mature in their businesses and they know. But if somebody does not value that, I haven't been in that situation. I'll be honest. So I can't really give like real raw advice, but I just wouldn't tolerate it. That's the just energy that I put out is like, okay, I will give a lot of me because I do go above and beyond in sometimes a meeting that's an hour because I in my brain I'll space it out an hour and a half, potentially two meetings, 2 hours, por si acaso, just in case I know
Yeah,
for that because I want to, in case the conversation goes somewhere that we need to keep
go.
crashing out, then yeah, we have that time because even though I've allocated a 1 hour and that's the time slot that I have allocated for this account, I understand,
Yeah,
so I want to make sure that I give them my best work, but you're gonna get me for all that time, and I'm available via email, via text message with my clients. So if you need to get on a phone call with me, it's got to be something urgent. I will hop on the call, But other than
yeah,
that, if somebody's just saying, "Hey, I want to follow up in another week," and in another week, I'd be like, "Listen, you
yeah,
trust me?" So I don't know.
yeah,
May
yeah.
be the
I
one
feel that
that.
totally. So I just feel that it's good to have this conversation because sometimes, especially if you're starting your business, because I fell into that trap when I first started my business, that you say yes, 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 because estás desesperada, right? You're like, you need to put food on the table and you're on survival mode and you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna bend over backwards and oh Lord have mercy. We talked about this last week, but they want to talk every week and all of that, which is fine, but not really, right? It's fine, but it's painful sometimes. And so, yes, I think that as you mature, right, you can set those, healthy boundaries of engagement and make sure that you have an agenda, that you check off the list, right, and that you're organized in a way that the even if you have frequent touch points, that they're shorter. They could even be shorter, right? Because you're really tackling what needs to be discussed that's new. You're not revisiting, right? What was already discussed. And so that's great. One of my pet peeves is regarding time. But I've learned that now, they have to pay for the redo. Is when we're starting like a branding project, and you'll get this, right? And I'm sure that, come on, and don't tell me this hasn't happened to you. That when you start a branding project, right, and creating logos and the brand persona and the essence and all of that, and we say from the get-go, whoever needs to be present to weigh in on this design brief, please make sure that they're here, right? And so then they all come together. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the process, when you have three logo renditions and you're kind of like already getting to, the close to final, oh, wait a second. We forgot to invite the CEO. Or wait a second, we showed it. Or we showed it to someone in IT or something, and they had this opinion. And I'm like, carajo, pero why didn't you, bring this person into the what? Don't show people stuff until now we're final, because that's the group, right? And so anyway, so it's happened to us, not often, but a couple of times where, but then, the first time we kind of like we didn't know what to do, but the second time with another client, we were like, now we were more mature, less desperate to get the business. And we were like, no, if we're going to revisit everything we already did, because now this person is coming into the fray, so then now that's going to cost you, ¿verdad? X amount more, because we're kind of starting from scratch, right? And so have
Mhm.
you faced that kind of situation where time, right? You're like, oh my God, time is so precious. But then that adage of like time is money comes into play. So then you just charge more. Has that ever happened to you?
So in when I was in my earlier days, when I was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit younger, for sure, because for the same reasons that you said, like I wanted to make sure, but I was always, and this is something that I probably still, as much as I know to work on, right? I'm a people pleaser. Like I want everybody to be happy. So, and then I always think my name's on the line, right? So that's funny because I haven't been in a position where I had to redo a lot of elements at all. Like, so maybe if it was something was it was never a whole full campaign.
Oh no,
Um,
no, never full
yeah,
campaign. I'm talking about that at the beginning, right?
yeah,
That
yeah,
you spend 3 weeks and you're already close to final, and then all of a sudden, yeah,
yeah,
someone comes in and kind of derails, right? The
yeah.
focus. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely. It's always those. I showed it to my IT guy, and he said, "Who the heck is your IT guy?" But you know what? But that's the job is great. That's the hard part. Is really understanding. Like, okay, well, this is why we went this route. This is why we chose these colors. This is
Yeah.
why this is like this because this is who you're speaking to, and this is how we feel. This is the best presentation. If you want to bring somebody else in to redo it, I mean, but that's the project. If you wanted 3 months to completely hire somebody else and do it, then but yes, you're right. If it was me that said, okay, well, we love it, or we don't, the IT guy made a decision, let's redo it. Then it would be absolutely it's a cost, right? Because they gave you the go ahead to go and build out attributes on this visual, the initial strategy. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's hard. Yeah, no,
So moving on to energy, investing our
yeah,
energy. This
yeah,
is my favorite. To me, you need to invest your energy in building relationships. That to me, for any business person or any person really, right? To build support, but for Latina businesswoman,
yeah.
yes, you
I like
really need to invest time, not be shy, be out there, be assertive, and also not just with the Latino community, right?
exactly. Yep.
Because you really need to, right now, that's not where the money is, right? So you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to,
And I've said that for a
yeah.
long time. Even in our industry, as much as we have so much passion to help to support the Latino community, that's not paying the bills right now. And
No,
we're not there yet where we have enough Latino organizations that are at the position where they can that there's enough out there, right? You don't have to
right.
kind of find them in the needle because they're there, but I mean, there's like where you find,
Yeah,
it's a lot, you're going against, but
right,
but
right.
yeah, I think energy is absolutely everything, right? Building your network and making sure that you're out there. That's the reason why I started as a having and being in marketing, why United Latinas came to play. Because I'd be out networking my business and I'm like, how come I'm the only Latina here? Damn it, like, where's the other one?
Yeah,
And then if there was, it was a male. And I'm like, why aren't they coming out? And
yeah,
then when I was in corporate America, I'm like, well, I trained the Latinas there. And I'm like, well, how come you don't feel that sense of like audacity and self worth, right? Why don't
yeah,
you feel like that? Because I'm telling you, like, come on, you got to do it, right? Like, come on, let's do it, right? And then, but that's
yeah,
hard to say that, and then somebody else like, okay, well, I don't know if I'm ready to do that. Like, you seem like you're ready,
yeah,
but I'm not ready. And so I realized that there's a lot of building up that we need to do
yeah.
amongst our sisters and stuff. And so going out to networking, I realized all right, I love meeting everybody else, but I also want to feel connected to a community that I want to help uplift to so that I can network with some of my peoples too, like
Yeah, totally.
so,
And so
yeah,
that's the thing, building the relationships and uplifting and elevating our community, everyone in the community. Those are good good ways to invest your energy, right? What you exert, what you put out there, your knowledge, your thought leadership. and your compassion, and all of those things that make you who you are. I think that that brings a lot of value. And just understanding really who your audience is, because I know that I said before, that in Latino businesses, that's not where the money is, but there is, right? What I'm
Yes.
saying is, if you have a small business, or like a local restaurant, well, then there's focus, right, on the demographics and the audiences that in your area. But if
Yeah.
you're a service provider, for example, and you really want to scale, like us, right? We
Yeah.
really need to start looking at, or I tend to look at, and I know you do as well, bigger corporations, and not be afraid of that. So investing energy in really developing relationships, in networking, in showing up, right, as a speaker, panelist, and really being participatory in these kinds of spaces is really takes a lot out of you, because then you're like, oh, I'm exhausted, right? But that energy is well invested, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. Oh my God, you're bringing up so many like touch points that probably relate to so many people because yeah, we have to do that at the same time. Many of us, I am more. I've become anyway, at least as I've aged, very introverted. Like I'd be the loudest one in the room, and I would work a room anytime I'd like all the like networking events in New Jersey, New York. Like I would work even down here in Florida, but I would work the room. Every single person would know me by the time I was out in a happy-go-lucky energy, like you need to know me, I need to know you, energy. But it's true, right? How we spend our energy really matters. Where are we allocating? Who are we going to intentionally go meet? Who are we reaching out to online? Making a list of the companies that we want to connect with, or the industries that we want to work within, and then making a list, right? That's how do we spend. That's part of how we spend our time wisely. Okay, well, and that might take me an hour to gather that list, but that could be invaluable over the long run because it's going to lead me to where the direction really ideally I want to go. But
Hmm.
I think networking is the most powerful tool. But be the squeaky wheel. Go out
Yeah.
there and make some noise. Show up, right? And there's times where I'm like on social media all the time. Like people be like, "Oh, you're on there all the time." I'm like, and then there's time where I'm like dormant because I'm like concentrating on certain things that I got to push out and things that I'm working
Yeah.
on. But so, and I believe in consistency. Like I know that the power to success for any business is the consistency of showing up online every single day, day in, day out, being seen, being heard, because different people you're going to be exposed to. But at the same time, that is a lot to ask of a lot of people that don't have those resources to implement that right all the
Yes.
time. Which is
Hmm.
why organizations hire you and hire people like me, right? Is to make sure that those systems are in place because we put systems in place to handle that. But it is a lot to ask of somebody like you got to show up every single day and do a live. Okay, all right. And some people are committed to it and they know that that's part of their time because they know those things are going to lead them to the exposure that they want ultimately. And then some people are like, okay, all right, but I need to take some me time. That was exhausting because when I go out, like I'm like that, like okay, all those when I'm around a lot of people, I get home and I'm like, I feel like I'm so exhausted. I'm just
Yeah.
like a lot, you know. But I love being out there. At the same time, you always have to check in with you, right? What do I need right now? Do I need to sit down and kind of just be by myself for a moment, or am I ready to roar and be my best self, showing up right for other people? Um,
Yeah. What one thing, so talking about energy or vibe too, that's another way of looking at it, right?
yeah,
So I'm very much about energy, right? And knowing, wait a second, is this gonna work or not? Do we move forward? So I've learned to put out there when I'm not feeling like a strong, good energy, right? In a conversation, but that there's still an interest to engage, because of our expertise or whatever, to again set healthy boundaries of engagement just because the gut, right? It's like, my head is telling me, okay, this is a good opportunity. My heart is telling me, oh my goodness, we could totally help. And I want to see this, but my gut's telling me, something's kind of off here, right? And so that kind of energy also, it's important to be aware of it, and to
Yeah.
feel it, to know when it's coming, right? So that way you know when to pause and say, oh, okay, maybe we should engage for like a 3-4 month period instead of going into a 1 year retainer, right? Which sounds fantastic. But for your own sanity, sometimes it's good to get into a dating period, and
Yeah.
this is just advice, right? For business Latina business owners that are out there, that it's okay to establish those boundaries to make sure that you're comfortable, because a client engagement is also a two-way street. It's like dating, right?
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that the energy's right, because then the outcomes are going to be freaking amazing, right? Because you're not bogged down by figuring this person out, by trying to, guess, what does that vibe that I'm feeling, what is it, and all of that, all of that comes with that, right? That could be just yucky altogether. So what do you think?
Yeah. I probably pass up a lot of business because of energy. Like if I,
Really?
yeah, I definitely uh, have, yeah, I've definitely passed up business because I felt
Me too.
like the
Yeah.
energy just wasn't in sync. And I don't, and I, again, like priority number one is my mental health. Priority number one is, and I want to, and I know what I bring to the table. I'm very like, so like, I'm very picky on who gets to have that, right? Because you don't have so much time in a month, right? You don't have, so like who gets to have that? So I'm very,
Yeah.
I have to be that way because it's just me,
Yeah.
like it's just me right now. So I'm very picky on that, but there's definitely been people that I'm like I've spoken to in like intro calls and stuff, and just certain things they would say are like either in line or completely like I don't, and then the industry has to matter to me, right?
Yeah.
I have to be passionate about some of it, even though that's probably not the right way. I'm telling you, I pass a lot of business because of my like hard-headed ways sometimes. I don't know. It's a Latina in me, but because I'm like I want everything to be like where I have somebody that appreciates quality, that appreciates strategy, and has the ability to invest in a
Yeah.
long-term game. Yeah, but
Right.
sometimes
Right.
so dating is important. Like I do short retainers, and then we go. Then we go after that because I don't want to have. I want the expectations to be set properly, and then I know where we can go after that. But I
Right.
get it. I get it. You know what I mean? I get everything. I get, understand that this is to achieve what you want to achieve. It's not going to take 4 months. It's going to take a year. And that's part of my contract. Even when I
Right.
sign for retainers, but I'm going to help you achieve certain things, but
Mm-hmm.
certain things that you want to achieve, they're going to take long. This is a long-term game. You
Right.
can't, you can't hire an agency and think, you know what, they're going to, and they can. You can, right? Turn something around drastically in 3 months, 4 months. You can flip their company and make them the highest revenue that they've ever grossed in 3, 4 months for sure. That is possible. Even less than that, right? Depending on what you do. But most of the time, you have to look. A company when they're looking to hire an agency needs to look at the long term game. What is it that we're going to work towards together as a company and agency together as a unit to build what it is that we want to build. And when companies can understand that going in, like I'm hiring an agency, this is a long term game. Do I feel the energy, right? Because they're looking for that too, right? Do I feel
Yeah.
that energy? And when you come and saying, listen, I'm your industry particularly, Mr. X, like if I get that industry, I'm telling them what how I would help remedy, right? But like how what I know about their industry, because if I believe in it, it's just gonna the energy within me is just gonna come out. Like I'm just
Right.
gonna share my knowledge about that industry, and that's what typically like, oh, okay, she gets it. She gets what we're doing.
Yeah.
She gets what we're going after. And when people could sense that energy back from you, then they're more likely to say, okay, I'm understood. And that's not what anybody wants, right? They want to
Yeah.
feel
Totally.
understood. You get where I want to go. You get what our goals are, and let's grow. Let's build.
Yeah.
Let's build.
Totally. Yeah. And so it's funny that you say that, because I'm big on energy too. And so I used to go to a lot of events. I used to be in a lot of chambers, right? All of this stuff. And
Yeah.
now I'm so picky, in terms of that because it has to feel right, right? I've learned throughout the years that they can get really stuffy and freaking clicky. And I don't have the energy to navigate that anymore, right? And to deal with that, and yeah, so there's
Yeah.
just a lot packed into this energy theme, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
at the end of the day, just follow your freaking gut, right? That's the
Pretty
energy. That's
much.
the vibe. Yeah.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
yes.
But and then kick
So
your own ass if your gut's telling you, hey, chill out sometimes. Because sometimes you're like, oh, no me siento, or I feel like I'd rather stay home. Sometimes we have to be able to catch ourselves and know, okay, well, you said that last time. Kick your butt today, right? So, but yes, and energy's everywhere. It's like it's the energy we feel, the energy other people feel, the energy in the air, and it's what we decide to create with it. So, yeah, that's
yeah,
a book.
totally. And who to
That's a
call
whole
up and exactly, and who to collaborate with and everything, right? Yeah,
yeah,
totally. Just the
yeah,
whole bit. So
yeah,
the energy is like that bond that you feel with people or with the causes or with
yeah,
industries or whatever it is, right? It's
yep,
yeah, either it's there or it's not, right? And so
yep,
just need to know when to say bye bye and move on, right? When to break up and just keep it going, right? So,
yep.
and then last but not least, let's talk about el bacalao, about money, right? How to invest our money. Because I feel that sometimes there's so many things that we need to cover, right? As business owners, and that we don't I mean, business ownership, if you come from a line of like public servants, for example, in my family it was like, government workers, teachers, firemen, cops, right? So like
Yeah,
that was what I
yeah,
saw growing up. So entrepreneurship wasn't like this thing, right? That you did, right? And so when you're starting and even as you're growing, it's like where do you find, right, what is like critical areas, that it's a wise investment of your money, to be able to make sure that again you are time efficient, that you can focus your energy on developing relationships, and that you don't lose your mind.
yeah. So I have two opposing opinions to that.
Okay.
They oppose each other. So me too. My mom was a bus driver. Every single dollar, like even to today, sometimes I'm like, oh, well, this one I'm going to save, like sometimes, but other things I don't even remember what it was at all. Like because I
Yeah.
needed that thing or that thing was important enough to me that it's like, okay, more or less it's going to be around this, and I need
Yeah.
that thing. So, um, so I have both of those personalities within me. I don't know. I have the one that's like, money's no object. I don't care what it costs. And then this other part
Yeah.
of me, the Latina, is like, oh well, that's $2. Should I save the $2 on that thing or whatever?
Yeah.
And you
I'm the
know,
same way though. Yes. Yes. Uh-huh.
okay, good. So I'm because it's true, and it really matters what is it. And then, but recently, what I've come into when it comes to energy is I've studied for a long time just mindset and neuro how our brains work because I think that was just kind of through my life. I've things that not we'll talk another time, but like through when we think about our journey, right, and what we've been through and what has happened, we think about, okay, well, how do I become? Especially when I was hit my 40s, I was questioning this a lot. I'll be 46 next week, but
Uh-huh.
we think about like what I meant, how do I become my best self, and how do I learn about me? Like, let me
Mhm.
dissect, because a lot of the books even behind me, it's like, you're giving a book as a kid, it's like, okay, this is the meaning of life, this is the Bible, this is this, and
Yeah.
this is the playground. And so I've questioned everything. Well, why, what makes it that, and had questions that people couldn't answer. And that was always, that's always been my journey through life is, well, what don't we know about
Mhm.
ourselves? What don't we know fully that we are not tapping into? And been my that's been my life journey, my life questions for like really understanding, man, we are divine being. If everything we're told when we're young, if portions of that, if a small percentage of that is even true, we are divine beings. We are God in different forms. You're a God, Sammy. I am a God. Like we're God divided up. We're just God because everything is God, right? So the
Mhm.
collective of us is God. You know, that God consciousness. We're not the God consciousness, but we are pieces of that greater. And that's what I've come to learn about who we are as beings. And then understanding that is the energy that within us that we create that, right? We are the masters of creating the life that we want to live. We get to choose energy. And while that's difficult, while like, yeah, I had these questions just the other day. And then today I heard someone say it. And I said, it's funny how the universe works. Sometimes we think something and then somebody says it in some random conversation, like a couple hours later or just a little bit later. And that was, if I believe what I believe, which I do, right? I believe that we are pieces of the divine because that's what science says. It's not even just, spirituality. Woo, it's not woo, it's science, right? If that's true, then so why then I have all these questions for the great divine with God, which is, well, then why do we feel so much sadness? Why do we experience our trauma? Why are we holding on to the pains of our life? Because that will determine the energy that we move forward, right? That is the hindrance to being able to fully exert positive, loving energy consistently, positive, that audacity energy consistently, because we certainly like revert back to thinking, "Am I worthy?" And that's just stuff that just hinders the light that is within us. So when we think about like energy, that's always been like, well, I've suffered a lot up until like just this past week. Not up until, who knows, but like that was just an epiphany that triggered in my head. Like, wow, you know what? I've had this question to God about why do we suffer if we're supposed to think and act as if the life that we want is before us, right? That's how manifestation happens. We have to own the energy that says I am worthy of living and creating and building and doing. But oh man, I had a bad day today, or this happened, and this
Yeah.
bad, and then it derails you, right? And it derails
Yeah.
that light to say, all right, maybe I'm not as worthy to create this. I'll keep moving, inching forward, but there's still that hesitant that doesn't allow you to break free because you're still holding on. We're all still holding on to sadness and hurt and turmoil. But it is the really owning and understanding that who we were and who we are before we're physical beings, because this is, I believe, the heaven on earth. We get the experience live. We could do whatever we want. As technically, right? We're not just consciousness observing. We are consciousness in action. So we get to live this life. So I believe this is the heaven on earth that Jesus speaks about, right? Is kingdom of God is at hand. This is it. So how do we live in holding on to that energy and that power when we're holding on to that thing? So we just need to remind ourselves of some of those truths and really just understand, like I said in the beginning, like there's days that are going to be bad days. Just don't stay there, right? We need to be alone. We don't want to talk to nobody. We need to think things through in our head. Be kind on yourself and do that, and also kick your own ass and know, okay, but I can't stay here. I need to like make my next move. I need to do that next thing. I need to own the power that is within me, that the energy that God gave me within me to build and create anything. And I say that literally, like anything. It's up to whatever you believe you're capable of creating. And that's hard. But that's, I think, what I believe is our task as human beings, is to tap into that unlimited potential that God gave us that we forgot about when we became human and were colonized and were told who we are versus,
Yeah, totally. But and part of that though is the competition, right? And go because just going back to the money aspect of
yeah,
it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is like you don't need to be rich to be happy, but as business owners, we're trying to find stability, to scale, to grow, to have the proper revenues coming in to be able
yeah,
to feel safe.
yeah,
Safety is a big thing, at least for me, right? And my family. Safety is a big thing, and to be able to impact others, right? And so, and to, as part of that, investing your energy and your time in elevating the community,
yeah,
you want to have the right resources, and resources sometimes are in the form of money. And I agree in that philosophy. or ideology that we're all part of this bigger, energy or force, God, whatever people, right, from all cultures and backgrounds call this
Yeah.
big thing, right? That the creator or whatever you want to call it. Um, and so part of existing and creating is also money. I mean, creative, and sometimes we're so like, I know, que si soy tan bueno, and I have to be,
Yeah.
all not, no, but no, it's part of reality, and that we really need to know how to wisely, right, invest our resources so that way we can be at peace and enjoy balanced life and all of those things. From a straight up business standpoint, I feel like investing in an accountant that knows
Yeah.
what the hell he or she is doing
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely
I totally derailed that conversation. That's
it's
funny.
okay, honey. I'm bringing it back, right? I'm bringing
Yeah.
it back
Thank
to,
you. Yes.
yeah, to the money aspect, because it can make you depressed, right? And so then and feel disconnected if you're not okay. And it's more, I feel the money aspect is more about safety. It's about, investing in with compassion, right, in the community, at least from my perspective.
Yeah.
I don't judge. People want to have the, Louis Vuittons and all of that. I like nice things too. Hell, I'm like you too, right? I'm like, sometimes I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna spend this money on this because I want it now. And I'll give you
Yeah.
an example. I just got back from a trip, right? A business trip. We got there a day before, and my traveling partner, she's also a fellow entrepreneur, Latina. She's like, oh, but it doesn't start till the next day. And I said, yeah, it's all the way in New Mexico. It's gonna take us a day to get there, right? And I don't want to get there to then go straight to the networking thing at night because I'm gonna be exhausted. Who the hell wants to do that? So then I tell her, and she's much younger, right? Like I could be her mom, like legit. So then I tell her, you know what the best thing about the whole thing is? And she's like, what? And I said, the name of the hotel. And she said, what? The El Dorado Hotel and Spa. And I said, yeah. And you know why? And she's like, why? And I said, because it says spa. And that's what we're going. And she's like, oh my God, pero es caro. And I said, no, we're going. We're going to go. And we did. So,
Yeah.
the day we arrived, the next day in the morning, we rested. And then the next morning, we went to the spa because in the evening, we were going to go to and how awesome was it, right? And at that point, I was like, screw it. I'm
Yeah.
here. I've never been here. I'm going to enjoy this experience to the fullest, right? And that's
Yeah.
it, done. And so
Yeah.
that's part of enjoying, right? The godly aspects of being a
Yeah.
human being,
Well,
right?
that's
To experience, right?
yeah.
This, right? And so you can have that. And so my car is a 2012 Honda CRV with over 100,000 miles. I don't give a shit, right? Because,
Mhm.
because I
Yeah.
can just on the fly just go to the spa and not worry about it, right? And so
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
and not that fancy cars are awesome, and I'm sure one day on a whim I might buy myself, the Bentley convertible that I want. But not now. It's like it doesn't right now. I don't need that, right? So
Yeah.
anyway, what are your thoughts about that? About investing, your coins
Um, a little to the first one. I love everything that you said. Like
as a
it's
business owner? Yeah. Oh,
as a
I mean,
business
listen,
owner,
another
you're right.
and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
total.
So
And, go ahead.
yeah, no, so like for yeah, for sure it's okay, what how can if I want to grow, and I think that that's the first question as a business owner, right? If I want to grow my company, what is it going to take for me to grow that company? And can I reduce my expenses on the back end so that I can fuel that dream of mine? And I think that that's first of all most important for people to understand. Sometimes you do have to do that, right? Sometimes we are trying to live above our means, trying to have all that flashy stuff while you're trying to build something, and it's hard to build something when you are really you got high expenses on the back end. So I
Hmm.
think like I've never, I've always been about I want nice things, but I also need to make sure that I can financially sustain that. And some
Mm.
life ebb and flows. You got everything, and then sometimes you can lose it all, right? So as a business owner, like I've learned after losing a lot, and like even my first business, after a lot of that, I realized, I spent stuff on things I probably shouldn't have. Top of the line iMacs for the office, the software, right? We didn't have Creative Cloud, the subscription. So we're, every computer and every license for every computer, at least 900 to $1,000 for just for all the software, the Creative Suite software back then. Like, so I think back and I'm like, man, I spent like, what went wrong there? Like, what could I have done differently so that I learned and I apply that to my business today? And I'm like, you know what? I was very careless with thinking, okay, I need that. I got to get that. But did I really need that? Did I need every computer to have that when I really had just one main guy that was really responsible for those things?
Right.
Did I? So I really didn't. So I am like you need to be able to know, okay, what needs to be paid to fuel this. And granted, with subscription today, and I'm sure you're probably like, there's a ton of subscriptions that we subscribe
Hmm.
to, and platforms and places for images and places for this and that. So there are sometimes some surprises on my credit card, like, oh crap, I forgot I subscribed to the thing. Oh man, I
Which
gotta go
actually,
and
that's
cancel
something I
that.
have to do. Yeah, I have to do that this weekend, actually. Sit down because I'm like, wait, there's a couple of things like
Yeah,
Asana that we have it, but are we really using it to full capacity? I don't think so. So yeah,
yeah,
I need
yeah,
to I need to cancel that. You're absolutely right. And it's just really important to also, I think, right, as you're scaling, it's very scary, right? Especially if you're not if you are risk adverse, to determine when to onboard new talent, right? Because that is really scary to
oh yeah,
commit to paying somebody every month, you know. And
yeah,
so, some recommendations is to share the pie, find trusted collaborators, right? That money that you're able to secure with a client, just say, oh yeah, I have bandwidth, right? Like I know you and I, Sandra, are exploring, right? We've been talking and exploring
yeah,
opportunities to vie for big projects that then in the back end, right? We can
yeah,
figure out the money cut. That's the easy part. Let's just get the business in, right? So that's one way to do it. Or then hire people too, which I have that combination, right? I have other business owners that I collaborate with, and then I'm able to um invest that money, right, that we secure from our
yeah,
clients in paying them, right, for the quality work that they're able to support us with, right, in
yeah,
certain areas on a project by project basis. And then I have our how do you say, more permanent, right, team members like Madeline and Natasha, my executive assistant and stuff like that on a monthly basis. Pero coño, getting this regular support, right, like content modeling with her content development, that I don't have to worry about it anymore, right? I just have to
yeah,
review it quickly, and
yeah,
it takes a weight off your shoulders, so you're able to work on the business instead of in the minutia of the business. And so I feel that a good accountant, and when you're ready and able to, getting someone that can support you on a day to day is critical, right? You
invaluable.
just have to go for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing is finding
Yeah.
somebody that will work on your business. And Gary Vee said this once, like you'll never find anybody that'll work on your business to the level that you want to work, that you work on your business, right? So and
Yeah.
that's the obstacle for a lot of business owners. It's like, well, I don't know, right? I don't know if they're going to do it, or they'll bring somebody on that's entry level into their organization, and like, oh well, this person's really not doing much. So how they do social media is probably how people do social media, like not understanding, like the difference of like bringing on an agency like you, or like me.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing is bringing on quality talent. For me though, that's hard, right? But there are people that I'm like, I know you give them the key, and I know it's done, right? And then there's
Yeah.
other people that as you grow or you're trying to entertain other people, it's hard to let that key go to fully trust,
Yeah.
like so.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and how do you feel about investing money in in joining chambers or groups, or even getting your minority business, certification and all of that?
Yeah. So I haven't gotten my minority. I think it's important, right? I think that those things definitely will get you in the door for a lot of companies because a lot of them will want a lot of that certification, right? Depends on the business that you're going after, but I think that there is, I think that there could be benefit to it for sure, right? There's also some of those certifications that are only valid for certain types of things. So I mean, you getting it isn't going to get you a contract if you're not embedded in the political sphere of that thing, right? So
Right.
politics plays a role in a lot of some of those things, right? So I feel like if you feel it's in line and you are willing to do the work, to do the network, and to make sure that you're making those phone calls and learn and really understanding those businesses inside and out, so that you can. I think that it makes sense. It could make sense. But I'm not I don't and I know lots of businesses that have come to my through my courts that have like community, like city contracts, big contracts that are through because they were minority owned or business women owned. Like that is amazing, amazing. I
Mhm.
don't have the bandwidth to pursue all of that just yet, or it could be maybe that's an excuse. Right, an excuse. I've got let's put it out here while we're having it, because is it an excuse? Yeah, probably, potentially. I just need to put in the paperwork and do
But
it.
I gotta
But
tell
yeah,
you something though. What could be too is that you don't need it, right? So
yeah,
I'm gonna be very honest with you. So I have my minority business certification, but I just got the one for the state of Florida just because it was really easy to do because I already had all my paperwork, right? Um and uh and it was for free. But the one with the city of Orlando, which is also free, I've had it for like about 66 years, and a client required it back then. But when I applied for Tampa, I just told him, "Can you just offer me reciprocity?" For the minor, because I feel like it's just every freaking city, every county has this
yeah,
thing. And then you have to develop the relationships with the procurement departments and all of this stuff. And honestly, I just feel it's more about the insider advantage, is who you know. So I
yeah,
would say invest your time, energy, and money on relationships, on
yeah,
building relationships,
yeah,
authentic relationships, because and that they feel right, right?
yeah. It's true,
Because
because it don't matter what certification you got. It's who you
it
know going in that
is
door, and
what
that's
you know, right? And so then, so I've had both experiences, but for the most part, the business that we currently have has nothing to do with our minority business certification,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
At all. And they could give a hoot,
yeah.
about the paper, right? Like we really haven't had to, yeah, they're like, oh, we
And
can't
it's
give
a
you the
shame
business.
we even need that. I mean, you're a Latina. Like, what do we have to do? Draw blood? Like, we have to, go through all these hoops to get a certification that shares. I don't know.
That
That's a
tells you who you are. That tells you who
sounds-
you are. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
imagine our black sisters, right? It's
I
like I
know,
have
that's
my
what I'm just thinking. Them going in,
can
they
you
have to
imagine?
prove that they're a minority. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So then, yeah, it's like I have my friend Nadia says that. She sighs, so I need a certification to prove that I'm black. Just look at me, right? Like and we
exactly,
laugh. We die
exactly.
laughing because it's
Yeah,
ridiculous, right? But
yeah,
whatever. Anyway, it
for
just is
sure.
what it is, right? And I'm hoping that more procurement departments are really using this, right? Because we know for sure that none of them, I mean, I'm certain there has to be a study, like research somewhere out there, that can confirm that most procurement departments that have a supplier diversity component to it are not meeting their set goals.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it, right? And so
Not
anyway,
that they were even on the certified side, right? Because even getting certified, it only tells companies 30% of the businesses need to go to a minority or underserved community. Like 30%. Well, who's getting those 70% of the contracts,
yeah,
right?
but
Nobody.
yeah,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
but as a Latina, you know what? It was brought to my attention too and I didn't realize this, right? That when you're talking about supplier diversity in these white spaces, right, that are male dominant, diversity in many cases is female owned, right? So it's not even Latina or black owned, right? It's female owned. So it could be Caucasian, like non Hispanic, white,
Yep.
female owned. And so then that's why I just applied for WeBank, right? Because a friend of mine told me, get that one, right? So it's in a space where there, and actually, Latinas out there, if you're going to get a certification, you might want to get the WeBank certification. So then you're just classified as female, right? Don't worry about it. You don't need to. My husband asked me, so how do they confirm that? Do you have to flash them? Like, you have to flash them, show them your boobs. I'm like, I don't know. It's so stupid. But anyway, make a long story short, I'm legit going through this process of getting the WeBank certification. I have my interview actually tomorrow. Hopefully it'll go through. And so that's a new space, and there's actually low representation of women of color in this group. So that's why I'm inserting myself into it. So that's a listen. Invest your time, energy, and resources into getting into spaces where we're underrepresented, and then show up and be you, right? Be assertive, be disruptive, be whatever they want to call us, feisty. I don't give a
Yeah.
shit, right?
Yeah.
Just be you, right? And then show what you're capable of. And I think that yeah, together we can, move the needle and increase representation and elevate our community. Yeah.
Amen. 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 And join groups like United Latinas. That's another organization
Oh
that
yes, and join United Latinas. Yes, you don't have a certification, but it's a good investment in developing the skills, right? Negotiating skills, in developing confianza, like self-confidence, and to learn how to self-advocate. Now we're pitching United Latinas, but yeah, it is a good investment, right?
it's just
Of your
community,
money.
being surrounded, right? Like even you,
It's a
like being around
community.
somebody like you. If you're an organization or a small business owner, being in an organization where wonderfully that we have you as not just a member but as a board member, but like being around spaces where they have people like you giving guidance, right, or you sharing your thought process. And I think that that's what's invaluable when we think about networking and community and making money. Be around people that want some of those bigger things. Be around people that are going after and pursuing big goals and trying to build big companies, because they're going to like give that energy that you just shared with me, that I'm like, you're right. She's right. She mentioned so many great points that I really, we really need to kind of think about that. And that's the community side of being surrounded around people that want to see you level up, have the mindset of consistently leveling up, have the energy that we are deserving of that leveling up because we are how great
Yeah.
we are, right?
Yes, totally. And just in your endeavors, just know that going back to the more spiritual aspect of it, because I feel you're like, oh my God, I took that. But actually there is a lot of value in that. And just know that we're all interconnected, right? We're all a piece of God. And it's important that we in our endeavors, in everything that we do, that we're putting out, right? Kindness and understanding and compassion and sharing and collaboration and all of that positive good energy, to try to shift disinformation, shift the lack of trust,
Yeah,
and connect with all people, right? And just make sure that we're seeing each other, right, for who we
yeah,
are, just human beings. So
yeah,
nada. Anything
yeah.
else to close?
Yeah. One last thing for companies that are watching this, I hope this shows you this is the flavor that we bring to the table, because not only do we season food, but we season campaigns. And it's been a like wonderful working and like just really understanding what Urbander does and what you guys do to help elevate the communities and help companies reach and expand their brand by reaching and connecting with audiences that maybe they're not speaking to exactly in a way that they can connect. So you guys, like, bravo to you guys. And I hope anybody listening to this, I mean, even putting out this podcast, right, that you are highlighting other companies and other individuals, but really under the guise of, man, we bring flavor to the sauce. Like, we bring the seasoning. So urban dirt for your campaigns, guys.
And build your company too. I mean, there's just a lot of strategy, experience, untapped talent, right?
Yeah,
In Latina business owners, there really is. We come with zest,
yeah,
with a different perspective, and also we have and don't pigeonhole us either, right? We
yeah,
need to understand, and I think as Latinas we need to really also show up, that way, with that energy, that we can easily navigate, right? We have a foot in mainstream America, and we have a foot in culture, right? And so we basically bring the best of both worlds.
yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
I
I
love you.
love it.
I love it. I love you. I love you. Okay, good. Sandrita, te quiero, te amo. I'm so happy that we made this time. This was a good investment of time, energy, and resources.
Yeah,
And I know it won't be the last. So I love you for it, though. Thanks for coming and recording this with me.
I love you. Thank you so much for having me and for everything you do.
Okay, mama. Un beso. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of I Have Something to Say, where subject matter experts are unafraid and unapologetic about sharing their perspectives regarding issues that impact our lives. They speak up because basically they give a shit. So if you're tired of canned answers and want to finally hear real people cut through the BS and talk about real issues, this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Sami Marrero from Urbenter, and behind our mixer is our producer, Chris Majoka from UdoU.